What if the secret to inner peace wasn't meditation or bubble baths, but four simple words? Not my fucking problem. And that is the topic of today's episode. Welcome back to the Law of Attraction Tribe. I'm your host, Stephanie Keith. Let's dive into this. I guess I should start by saying why I want to talk about this. Like, what's going on? Why am I, being so abrupt? And I actually came across this quote on Pinterest that inner peace can be summed up into four words, not my fucking problem. And I laughed, it's funny, but really digging into it, it's actually true. That quite literally could be the secret to inner peace. Okay. So in the Quantum Catalyst Mastermind, the whole mastermind, we're building up to where we're expanding our consciousness, are going within, and you realize that a lot of the things happening externally that have disrupted our life in one way or another all throughout your life is not what we should be focusing on. We think we have to go and fix things outside of us. And the reality is, we need to go within if we want to quantum shift and up level our life and change the projection that we're seeing. So, a great analogy is, let's say you go to the movie theater and you're watching this movie and you're like, I don't like this movie. I want to watch another movie. And so you go up to the screen where the projection is and you're trying to change the screen, right? It's not going to work. Nothing's going to work because you have to go up into the booth and change out the film, or you need to go into another theater, right? It's the same thing with our life. Our life, our reality as we know it, is basically our perception of a lot of different things. And it's a projection of what's going on internally. So, what makes up our perception, our viewpoints, our life experiences, our hardcore beliefs that we've had since childhood? And, it all kind of meshes into this perception that we have of the world. And that affects our reality. It affects how we see the world. So when I think I told this story before on the podcast, or maybe it was in the mastermind, I get confused on, where I've shared these stories before, but you know what? I'm going to share it again, even if you had heard it before, because it's really good. It's eye opening. My freshman year of college, or not my freshman year, I think it was, yeah, maybe it was, whatever, psychology class, right? It was like Psych 101. And we were sitting in this large lecture hall with probably 200 people. And the teacher was talking, and somebody runs out on stage and grabs her purse and runs off. And we're all like looking around, and she's like, okay, everybody stop. Write down exactly what you saw. And so, everyone writes it down. And then she says, I paid him to do that. He didn't actually steal my purse. And now we're going to go around and see what everybody wrote down. And every single person had something completely different, like vastly different. Like some people wrote down it was a guy, some people wrote down it was a girl, some people wrote down they had a red shirt, some people wrote down they had a yellow shirt. Like even the way the whole thing played out, some people were like, oh, he didn't steal the purse, he was helping her. It was wild to see. And the point that she was making was that in a room of 200 people where we all saw the same thing, we're all in the same reality, looking at the same exact event, and we all have 200 different stories. So that was very eye opening. But when you look at manifestation, that's what's happening with our reality. You could be experiencing something right alongside me, and we're going to have two different viewpoints of what happened. I could think it was the best day ever. You could think it was the worst day ever. So it really all comes from within, but we are so conditioned to believe that the control and the circumstances and everything that's outside of us is out of our control and we can't do anything about it. And that's what's really creating our reality. And it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And there's, I think, a lot of reasons why we were conditioned that way. Regardless of what those reasons are, we were conditioned to see things that way, to not look within, to not trust our intuition and trust ourselves, but to look outside of us for all of the answers and solutions, and as a way to blame everything that's happening to us on external circumstances. So, anyhow, fast forward to the last few days. The Schumann resonance. So, first of all, shout out to Peyton. She's in my mastermind. She hooked me up with the Schumann resonance tracker because I've been wanting to track this and wasn't really sure where to get it. So she showed me how to get that and start tracking this. And the Schumann resonance is basically the Earth's vibration. And so there's a lot of different theories about the Earth's vibration and what's affecting it, but you can actually go and see it's like this kind of like this radar looking thing. And on Friday into Saturday or Saturday into Sunday, there was what they call a whiteout. Okay. Which is like you see this sort of like graph. It's almost like when you're at the hospital and you see the machine that's showing like the heartbeat, and it'll be pretty even, right? Because the Schumann resonance is kind of like Earth's heartbeat. But then every once in a while, there will be these like massive things where you're like, whoa, what was that? And that happened over the weekend. And it was called a whiteout. And it's this big white, looking light basically that shows up. And it's like, what was that? What caused that? And so the whiteout is thought to be these energetic upgrades. It's kind of like the collective of the earth is all raising their vibrational frequency, we can say, or like having this up level energetically. And so people who are more sensitive to it, or even people that aren't, might be feeling all kinds of things. Like you might have felt crazy this weekend, all over the place emotionally, maybe just feeling like you need to scream or cry, maybe getting in fights and arguments, or just getting really irritated. Or you might have felt like super fatigued, or you might have felt physical pain or ringing in your ears. This is all symptoms of this whiteout. And I like knowing about it because just like with the moon, when I can kind of understand how it's affecting my body personally and like why I feel certain things at certain times, it just makes you feel like less crazy and more like, okay, we're all going through something collectively right now. And so the reason I'm bringing the Schumann resonance up is because when something like that happens, whatever's going on in your life that could already be a little chaotic or intense is going to intensify even more. So basically, whatever you're projecting onto your screen is going to just intensify. And it could be good or it could be bad or it could be anything in between, but it's just this intense period. Okay. And then the other thing is in this quantum catalyst mastermind, as we're all quantum shifting and up leveling our lives, things that are not aligned with this new reality, things that don't align energetically with it, there's going to be a disruption, right? So if you're moving on to this like new you that has peace in her life and abundance and so on, and there are things in your current reality that contradict that, there's going to be some friction. And so we're seeing that in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways, a big way, is people in your life, we could say they're energetic vampires, right? They drain your energy, or they're toxic people. They can get even louder because we don't like change. The subconscious doesn't like change. And if the people in your life see that you're changing, it could get intense and things start to fall away that are not aligned with where you're going. So we all kind of, I'm sure, have experienced that at some point in our life where there's a family member or someone close to you that is a toxic person, is emotionally abusive or just draining, like I said, an energetic vampire. This could be for a variety of reasons. I mean, there could be mental illness, there could be addiction, there could be that, that they're just an asshole. But regardless, they're treating you like shit. And I think the thing that I see with pretty much all of the clients that I've ever worked with, and I've seen it in my life personally with me, with family members, is women especially, we tend to be empaths. Okay, we tend to be more empathetic and sensitive to what people are going through around us, and a lot of times we'll feel like, well, we can help them, we can change them, we can fix them. And that's all bullshit. You can't change or fix anyone unless they are willing to change and fix themselves. Because remember, Everything that's projecting in our reality comes from within. And if they don't make the decision from within that they want to change, they're not going to change. Every human being has free will, and we can't force that on anyone else. But we get this idea in our mind that we can change them and that it's on us because we're supposed to be the ones to take care of them, like their family. You have to stick around with family. You have to take care of them. You have to just be around them. You just have to suck it up and do it because they're family. And I'm here to say, like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Not my fucking problem. Okay. So, women, especially, and this goes for men too, but I feel like with women, we're conditioned to be the fixers and the caretakers. And it's part of our nature, right? We're supposed to be nurturing. We're the ones that, take care of the kids, and it's kind of built within us. And so we end up in this situation where we feel this burden to take care of the people around us, even if they're not willing to take care of themselves or they're not willing to meet you halfway. And so I want to get in today of the costs of that because we think like, oh, we have to do it. We have to be a good person. We have to help them. But very rarely are we talking about what that's costing us. Like, what is that costing you in your life by being this emotional dumpster for someone else that really doesn't give a damn and they're not giving you that same compassion, right? So, first of all, the first cost, obviously, is the emotional drainage. Like it's just draining emotionally when you are taking on other people's burdens. Okay. So, we can use the example of addiction, for example. Like you aren't the one addicted, you're not the one making these life decisions, but the other person is. And even though you're not the one in that addiction, you're taking on that burden as your own. And if you are empathic, then you're feeling that too. And it can be so exhausting to go through that, to go through anything having to do with someone who is energetically draining you. And so over time, that leads to physical manifestations. We're talking chronic stress, anxiety, panic attacks, burnout, because your nervous system is completely fried. And instead of taking care of yourself and calming your nervous system, you're too busy worrying about someone else's mess and carrying someone else's burden that is not yours to carry. The next that's very common is financial fallout. Okay, when you're around toxic people, there can be that component where they will drain you, not just emotionally, but by financially as well. And even if you're not actually giving them money, for example, it can shift you into a mindset of lack where you're not going to be attracting wealth and abundance because you're in this deep, dark mess that isn't even your own. Okay. And I think what that can lead to over time is losing your identity in someone else's drama. And so think about it like if anyone's gone through this, where you're having an issue like this with a toxic person in your life, where your identity eventually shifts to you are the person taking care of that person. So you're no longer like you, where, you do all these things and these are your likes and your dislikes. Like everything becomes so consumed with you being the caretaker for this person who is, energetically sucking the life out of you. And the biggest cause or the biggest cost is ruining your relationships. Like literally one toxic person can destroy an entire family. It could take away the peace, the energy of the entire family if you keep feeding into it. Okay, so it could take a toll on your marriage if you're constantly giving your attention and your energy to helping someone else. That can take a toll on your marriage. The drama can, and it can take a toll on your kids because if you're being energetically and emotionally drained, how are you going to show up as the best possible version of yourself for your kids if you're so busy taking care of this drama how are you going to take care of your kids? And that is the cost that a lot of people miss because they think, well, it's family. I have to take care of this person. Well, okay, but then who's taking care of you and your kids and your family? That is the part that gets neglected and not consciously. I mean, it's just it's like collateral damage for choosing to continue to enable this toxic person that is wreaking havoc on your life. And by making their chaos your responsibility, you actually enable their patterns. Because as long as you're showing up and you keep showing up and you're helping them and you're giving in when push comes to shove, they have no motivation to change. Okay. And you have to think of it as like a child, right? If there's never any consequences to anything, they would just do whatever they want, right? There'd be no motivation to change. But by putting your foot down and creating these consequences, these boundaries, and not fixing things for them, then, you can create some motivation for them to get their life together, but they're just not going to get it together if you are coming to the rescue every time they need it. So this gets into like, how do you set boundaries without being a cold-hearted bitch? Because it's like a lot of times we hear boundaries and it's like, okay, well, that's going to cause so much drama because they're not going to handle it well and it's going to cause an argument. And then other people are going to judge me for, not helping. And our mind makes it up to be something so bigger than it needs to be. Okay. So you have to, number one, get very used to just saying no. And you can still be super compassionate and tell them, I love you. I care about you. I want what's best for you, but I'm not going to enable you. I'm not going to keep coming to the rescue. Like you have to figure this out eventually. And as long as I'm enabling you, I'm keeping you from figuring it out. And I'm just not going to do it anymore. Like you're helping this person to your own detriment. And so again, like you can still be compassionate about it, but at the end of the day, you have to worry about your own inner peace, your own family, your own life, and you can't just keep giving in. There's gonna have to be a time where you just put your foot down and say no. And that could be the best gift that you give someone else because until you do that, again, they have no motivation to change. And people will treat you how you train them to treat you. So if you just let them get away with it and there's never any consequences, again, there's no motivation to change. They're going to keep treating you like crap. So it's this like vicious cycle that you keep feeding into by not saying no, by not putting these boundaries in place. The other thing is, you don't really owe anyone an explanation. Okay. So you having respect for yourself is enough. Like you don't have to explain and give them reasons why. They're not explaining to you why they're wreaking havoc on your life. So you don't need to explain to them why you're stepping away. Like you don't owe them anything, really. And energy speaks louder than words. So sometimes if you just start pulling back and putting some distance, that can make such a big difference versus trying to tell them, right? Because that could lead to an argument. But if you just stop showing up physically, energetically, emotionally, that's when it's going to start to click. And again, like the way that I would look at this is boundaries are not walls. Okay. They're a fence. They're an energetic fence. It's not saying I'm cutting you out of my life. I never want to see you again. It's simply like putting up a little fence saying like, I need my space. Things are getting a little too intense. I need my space. You need your space to figure out your shit. And I'm going to protect myself now. I'm going to protect my peace. And I'm going to respect myself enough to put a little bit of distance in between the situation. And lastly, like detachment isn't cruelty. Okay. You're not being cruel by distancing yourself or detaching from this person. You're allowing them the space to learn a lesson, to figure out whatever they need to figure out. because again, they're not going to as long as you're jumping to the rescue anytime you need them to, or they need you to. And so from there, from setting this boundary and saying, you know what, I'm not showing up every day, or like, I am actually going to block you in my phone, or whatever that is, and we can get into that in a second. Then it's about taking care of yourself and going within and really like finding that inner peace that you probably haven't had in so long, maybe not ever, because again, we're conditioned to not go within and to be in the chaos of the world. And so this is where I'm going to say protect your energy like it's your damn life, because it is. Okay. So protect who you're letting in, what you're consuming, what is interacting with your vibrational frequency. Because by not doing that, it literally is affecting your reality. It's shifting. It could shift you into a lower vibration. You know, you start to even out with the people around you. And if you're constantly around this toxic, energy sucking vampire, it's going to affect your energy. It's going to put you in a lower vibrational state. It's going to get you out of this state of abundance and into this state of lack or despair. They try to make you feel guilty, you know, for not showing up, and that's like the lowest frequency feeling. And so you really have to protect your energy like it's your damn life. Okay? So what are some things you can do? Breath work is great for calming and regulating your nervous system, which will in turn protect your energy. Grounding, this is so huge. It's so effective. If you go outside on the grass or the dirt and your feet hit the earth, your body fills up with electrons instantaneously. It's so fast, they can't even measure how fast it is. And so it's like you're recharging your battery, and it starts to even everything out. You're discharging all of the stress and tension that's built up in you is being discharged, and your body's coming back into balance. That's how powerful it is. So grounding, like such a big, huge, life-changing practice if you just do it. Affirmations, subliminals, meditation, anything like that that's going to help to reprogram the subconscious into focusing more on the positive than on these issues that are draining you. And so you can even say a little reminder to yourself, like, not my problem, not my energy, not my chaos. When you're around that person and you go home, like take a shower and just imagine like all of their energy is washing off of you, because it's not your problem. It's not your energy. It's not your chaos. And then I heard this a while back and I loved it. This girl was saying how when she was little, and she had a problem that she was focusing on that she wanted to let go of, her mom would say, okay, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine putting your problem into this box and closing it up. And now you're going to hand it over. She said, hand it over to Jesus. You could say whatever you want, hand it over to God, the universe, whatever, but you're handing it over. And in exchange, you're getting a gift back. And that gift is inner peace. So it's a good visual of physically letting go of this burden. And you could feel this like weight lift off your shoulder when you do it. So let go of whatever you picked up during the day and hand it over. Hand it over to God or the universe or fill in the blank. And then a dopamine detox. So you actually get these dopamine hits from drama, believe it or not. And so when you don't have that and you're used to that, life could feel boring. Like feeling at peace could feel really dull when you're used to being in this constant adrenaline rush of pure chaos. And so you have to sort of like build up a routine where you start to crave the calm over the chaos. So I love this like for the morning. The morning I will wake up before anyone else in the house wakes up and drink my coffee, do my journaling, listen to subliminals. And it's such a good vibe that I actually crave it. I look forward to it. Like, I can't wait to get out of bed in the morning and go through this routine. Like, figure out a way that you can do that where you start looking forward to that versus craving this dopamine rush of chaos in your life. And then again, working with your subconscious on these beliefs that somehow you're not worthy of this inner peace, like somehow you should suffer because other people are suffering. And that's a lot of, again, like deep seated beliefs that we've been conditioned to believe our whole lives, just in the way our society is set up. You can start to overcome those. I think subliminals are the best way to manage that. EFT tapping is great too, to start to shift it to like, you know what? I have self respect, and the highest version of me would never tolerate being treated this way. And so I'm not going to put up with it anymore. And then, see, another one is cord cutting. So the way this was described to me years ago was that when you interact with people in your day to day, and this could be anyone, it doesn't have to be like the toxic person. It could even be people that you like or care about, like whoever, friends, neighbors, coworkers. There's this energetic cord that's connecting you guys. And so this practice was every night to imagine having this like big sword and you're cutting all of the energetic cords that are attached to you and just letting it go. So that's an exercise, like I said, going in the shower and just imagining all the energy running off of you, anything like that, to really just release anything that you're picking up from other people is going to help cultivate that inner peace. And then ask yourself, this is a great question to journal out. And it's a question to sit on too, because it's kind of deep. And the more you think about it, the more may be revealed. But ask yourself, why am I attracted to fixing people? Why do I feel the need to continue showing up? And you might be surprised at what comes through. I think if you don't ever ask the question and give yourself an opportunity for this just complete honesty, you're not going to get that realization. But if you sit with it, why am I attracted to fixing people? What makes me think that I have to give up my well-being to help this other person? And that may give you more answers than anything else combined. And then I think I mentioned this earlier, but use your phone to block that person. Block them or mute their calls or set your phone to do not disturb. Like, you don't have to be beholden to anyone 24/7. And so if someone is, won't leave you alone and they're like, you need your space and they're not respecting that, block them, block them, or do not disturb, but put some sort of barrier up, because as long as you're allowing them to get through, it's going to continue to harm you. And I remember back a long time ago in one of the jobs I used to have, there was this guy who had just gone through a divorce, and his ex-wife would like harass him like all day, every day. I mean, like hundreds of text messages. And if he wouldn't respond because he thought like, well, I'm not going to feed into it, so I'm just not going to respond, the more aggressive she would get. And so finally he just told her, I'm blocking your number. And if you don't respect that, then I will go to court and get an order from the judge to where you are not allowed to contact me anymore. And so it was very firm, but it worked. And he didn't have to deal with it anymore because he had gotten to the point where it's like, this is so disruptive of my life. So just think about some of those things. If you are getting pushback when you try to put some space between you and this toxic person. And then I like the mantra or the question that you can ask yourself as situations arise. And that is, if it costs me my peace, it's too expensive. So you can ask yourself, in any given scenario, is this costing me my peace? And if the answer is yes, that's too expensive. That's too big of a price to pay, because that is going to have a domino effect that is going to wreak havoc on my life. So if it costs me my peace, it's too expensive. Okay. And just say it out loud. Like, think of whatever is on your mind right now that's bothering you. Chances are it's not your fucking problem. You may think it is. Someone may have convinced you that it is, but chances are it's probably not. So just say that out loud. Like, think of that thing and just think, not my fucking problem. I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to give this any more of my peace, my time, my energy. Okay. So I hope that helps. And again, I think with what's happening with the Schumann resonance, it's just been a wild beginning of the year energetically. It's been pretty intense. So I know there's a lot of people out there going through this, and I hope that some of those things help. I highly recommend in the Manifest It Now app, I have a calming subliminal. There's a few of them that will regulate your nervous system, calm your entire nervous system. There's frequencies, waves, binaural beats that are all tied in there to instantly calm you down. There's also all different breath work exercises. There's meditation, there's EFT tapping, there's a ton of journaling. There's so many different things you can do. So if you just feel like very overwhelmed, I would go in the Manifest It Now app and just pick something each day. It could even be, I have challenges in there. So if you're a very structured person, do the challenge. Each day it will give you something to do. If you're more like intuitive and you want to just see how you're feeling for that day, just randomly go in the app and just do one thing. I recommend if you're going to pick anything to do, make it a subliminal because it's so easy. You literally just press play. You can press play while you're sleeping, while you're working, while you're in the shower, while you're getting ready in the morning. Like it doesn't matter. You don't have to do anything. You just press play. And the subliminals are going to reprogram your subconscious mind, and the waves and frequencies and binaural beats are going to calm your nervous system. So it's highly effective. I definitely recommend that if you're just feeling very intense and you need to calm down. So check that out. And yeah, like just take back your inner peace and start focusing on helping yourself, fixing yourself. And when you do that, you will show up better for everyone else in your life. And just don't give your energy away so easily. Ask yourself what it's costing you. And a lot of times, the cost is your peace, and that is too expensive. All right. I hope that helps. Reach out at Law of Attraction Tribe on Instagram if you have any questions. And I'll see you back here next time.